This is the original Tuff Stuff Alpha, and even though this year I haven't traveled as much as I normally would, I've spent about 40 nights in it, and that includes about an 8,000-mile road trip, and I figured it's about time I did an updated review on it. Before I start, I'll let you know that this video is not sponsored in any way. I don't receive any money or any free products from Tuff Stuff, and in fact I paid full price for this back in January. Now Tuff Stuff have since seen my videos, including the initial review I did, and some of the trip videos that I've done, and I have exchanged a few emails with them, and actually they did offer a 10% off for all my viewers if you use the code RVO10, and that applies to anything on their website that's not already on sale. At the time of shooting this video, there is a pre-order set up. There is a waiting list for these tents just because there's such a high demand, but when I bought mine it took about a week for it to get delivered, and one of the things I really liked about buying this tent is just how well it was packaged when it was delivered. It came in a kind of like a wooden crate built around the outside, which is a big difference from the previous tent that I bought from Smittybilt, which showed up with just a cardboard box and some damage. Obviously this tent is a hard shell tent. That gives you a couple of potential advantages over soft shell tents. One of those is less wind noise and the other one is less drag. Now I used to have the Smittybilt XL rooftop tent that's a soft shell tent, and honestly between the two I haven't seen a huge difference, especially when it comes to miles per gallon. I'm not really one that can give you a fair comparison though, because right as I switched over to this I also added a huge amount of weight with the front bumper and the rear bumper, so maybe it has saved me some miles per gallon. I just obviously haven't seen the difference because of the extra weight I added. There hasn't been a huge difference in the wind noise either. Obviously with the soft top rooftop tent you have the the cover flapping around in the wind, and you just don't get it with this, but you still want to have something like a wind fairing in front of it just to reduce the amount of wind noise from the sharp edge here. One thing you might notice is this tent looks really tall, especially here at the back, and while it is a couple inches taller than some of the competitors, some of the hard shell competitors, it is about the same height as a lot of soft shell rooftop tents. The difference being this has all the height at the back where it's really noticeable, where the soft shell ones have it right in the middle where the ladder is. I'm okay with the extra height though, because it does give it a great advantage over pretty much every other rooftop tent that I've seen, and I'll show you that in a minute. The best thing about this, and the biggest advantage this has over a soft top rooftop tent, is the setup time. With a little bit of practice, you can get this thing up really quick, and let me show you. You start off the process by undoing the 4 straps down the side. There are 2 Velcro and 2 ratcheting straps. Once that's done, all you need to do is give the tent a gentle push. Unlike a lot of tents, you don't have to do a whole bunch of walking around with this one. In fact, the only thing you have to mess with is the elastic strap that goes in a small hoop on the back. Once that's removed, everything else that you need to do is on the side. The ladder pulls out easily. You pull it the entire length of the way and then pull down on it. This is probably the longest part. It just takes some time just to get the air into the tent. Once the tent's down, you just adjust the ladder so it sits almost vertical. I could have saved some time at this point by having the 2 tent poles ready, but actually I forgot about them and left them in the vehicle. It'd be a lot easier if I had a second person to hold one of them, because you really can't do this one-handed. So instead I had to hook one of them onto a little loop on the bag on the side while I did the other. The tent poles just hook into a small grommet on the underside of the overhang, and then the bottom of it goes into a hole on the base of the tent. You just have to repeat this process, and you're done. And that's it. It's ready to sleep in. Now that it's set up, you can get an idea of the size of this thing. It is the size of a California King mattress on the inside, and the mattress itself is pretty comfortable at 2.75 inches thick. And that's a lot thicker than a lot of other similar tents. It is a little firm at first, but you do get used to it, and actually after a couple of weeks I ended up really liking it. And one of the advantages of having such a tall tent is that there's just so much space for bedding. On my normal trips, I normally have both those winter sleeping bags, 2 full-size pillows, and a king-size comforter in here with no issues. The shell does have some light insulation on the inside, and I usually face this way to the northeast in the summer so that when the sun rises I'm still in the dark and I can sleep in longer. Even though it does have some insulation, it still warms up quickly, so I'd personally recommend either getting the white or the grey top, just because I imagine the black gets really hot. You do have built-in lights for the inside and the outside, and you power them using a small USB plug on the left-hand side of the tent, and you can turn them on and off individually by plugging and unplugging the relevant ones. I only really have one complaint about the inside, and it's going to sound really whiny. When it's open, there's a drop-off at the top of the mattress, and when I first started using the tent, I'd get annoyed because my pillow would constantly drop into it. Now I just pile my clothes up there. If you're really tall, it could actually help you out because it adds about 6 inches extra height to the top of the mattress. If you watched my initial impressions video that I released when I first got this back in January, you would have seen that one of the things I was kind of disappointed by was the fact that there was no window awning up here. What that means for me is if it rains, I either have to leave the window zipped up or I risk rain coming in. However, I'd say about a week after I published that video, Tuff Stuff sent me an email and actually said, in our next batch of tents, we're going to add a window awning so you don't have that problem. Doesn't help me out, but it helps you out greatly because anyone that you order now will come with a window awning. And actually their window awnings are probably one of the best I've seen because it's detachable. There's a little zipper across the top. What that means is if you know it's not going to rain or you're out in the desert for any length of time, you don't even have to have it attached to your tent. You can leave it rolled up in the vehicle, and whatever length of time it took me to set this up, that's how quick it's going to be for you as well, because you don't have to bother setting them out. Where on other tents where they're permanently attached, every time you set the tent up, you have to put the awning up as well. Around the entrance here, you got a couple of nice little features. One of them is you got this pocket here, so that's for shoe storage, and it's got Velcro all down the side, so it keeps your shoes safe from the weather. There was another bag that went on this side, but I never used it, so I took it off. This does also come with an awesome annex, so if you want an extra little sleeping space or space to cook, it is enormous. I've seen the pictures. I don't own it personally, but it zips in all the way around the outside there. It just comes way out. It gives you a whole bunch more square footage in which to work. Now, I know most ladders these days, most rooftop tents come with nice ladders like this, but if you're looking at one that doesn't, it's well worth spending some extra to get something like this because it's fully adjustable. What that means is if you're not on a level slope, you can adjust it. If you're, you can make it slightly longer or slightly shorter depending on what kind of slope you're on once you've leveled the vehicle. Packing it away again isn't as quick as setting it up, but it's still a whole lot quicker than a lot of other tents, especially the soft shell rooftop tents. So I'll show you how long it takes. Packing up's just a reversal of the process. You'll see I start with the tent poles, and this time I just threw them on the ground to be quicker. The next step is just to push up on the base to fold the tent up. As I do this, you'll see why I had the sleeping bags and pillows placed where they were. You need to leave them in the top third of the mattress, just beyond the windows. That way, as the base of the mattress drops down, it's not landing on those, and it's in the gap that's left at the top of the mattress. Once the tent's folded up, you just push on 2 tabs on the ladder and it'll retract. The elastic strap that we took off earlier now needs to go back across into the loop on the far side. I've thought about removing this strap because it is possible to fold up the tent without it, but it just pulls in the sides of the tent really nicely and it kind of makes the whole folding up process a little easier. Once the elastic's in place, you just grab the strap that goes all the way across the top and pull down on it. As you pull, you can see that the sides are billowing out a little bit, but they're being held in by the elastic strap that we put on earlier. I do think you could get away without the elastic strap, just because when you tuck everything in, it's really not a whole lot of effort. As you pull it close, you just want to make sure that everything's tucked in that should be, and that the straps are out. I use the little ratcheting straps just to hold the top shut. I'm not putting any pressure on them, it's just to stop it from popping open again. Once those are in, I'll tighten it down using the Velcro straps and then go back and just double check that the ratcheting straps are secure. And that's it. I actually felt as though packing that up was a little quicker than when I set it up, so I'll have to look at the timings to see. But overall, I really recommend this tent. The quality is fantastic. The speed of setup and pack up is just amazing. It makes life so easy. You know, one of the biggest complaints I see about rooftop tents is you can't go to a campground, set it up, and then decide you want to go out later. Or with this, it's not a big deal. And in fact, actually, on the way home from our last trip, Elizabeth wanted this, the pillow that was in there, so I just pulled over to a rest area on the side of the interstate, popped it up, grabbed the pillow, put it back away again, no big deal. So I really recommend this. If you don't want something quite this big, they do also sell the Alpha 2, which is a smaller version. So that's good if you've only got 1 or 2 of you in there. If you found this video helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up because that helps me out too. And if you haven't already seen it, you've got to check out my 2020 series. I'll put a link to it like right here somewhere. And if you can't see it, I'll put a link to it in the description as well. Thanks for watching.